Hello crafty friends, I'm Adrienne Boese and welcome back to the Prima Marketing channel. Today I'm working with the new collection, The Home Baker, sharing how I created these sweet altered mason jar lids. There will be a full list of all of the Prima products used in the description box below. Let's get into the tutorial. Start by selecting some patterned papers from the Home Baker 6x6 paper pad. These papers will be used to cover both sides of the mason jar lid. Trace out the larger ring for the back of the lid and the smaller inside piece of the lid to cover the inside. My tip is to select a background pattern for the inside and to choose one of the cute scenes with the mouse for the back side of the lid. Cut the trace circles out and double check that they fit well. We'll be hanging these mason jar lids from a mini 5-inch wooden rolling pin using the roll of yarn from the new collection. Use a hole punch to create a hole in the side of the mason jar lid ring. Then line this hole up with one handle of the mini rolling pin. Using a wax or grease pencil, mark where the next hole should be punched and use your hole puncher to make that second hole. For two of these mason jar lids, we'll be decorating the inside with a Fussy Cut image from the 12x12 paper pad. Here you can see me fussy cutting out the little cupcake using a self-healing craft mat and a swivel craft knife. Now it's time to decorate the molds we'll be using for this project. Today I'm using the Baker's Delight mold, and I've already cast out the shapes I want with resin. To help the paint adhere to the mold, I first cover the entire piece with a layer of Finn's clear gesso. While waiting for the gesso on the molds to dry, cover the sides of the mason jar lids with some of Finn's heavy white gesso. Then glue the pieces of the mason jar lids together with hot glue. To help hold the paper we cut out earlier for the back of the mason jar lid, which is concave, add some chipboard or cardboard circles to the center back of the lid. Now that the gesso on the molds is dry, let's add some color to these pretty molds. I'm using the Art Philosophy Essence Watercolor set. I use one of the browns to cover the spoon and the rolling pin. Then I use a gray and a blue for the mason jar molds. While the watercolor dries, add a bit of color to the handles of your mini wooden rolling pins. Here you see me using the Victorian green impasto paint, but I also used Manor Blue for the blue altered lid. Then paint that same impasto paint onto the mason jar lid sides, inside and outside. After the watercolor has dried on your molds, highlight the texture with some Finnabair waxes. I used the sage green and old white matte waxes on the spoon to create a patina effect. I used only the old white matte wax on mason jars and rolling pin molds. And the final step before assembling all the pretty elements on our mason jar lids is to distress the edges of the circles we cut out. Then use Finn's soft matte gel to adhere the cutout circles to the front and back of your mason jar lids. To add a little extra distress to your mason jar lids, you can sand the edges of your lids with a sanding block to remove some of the impasto paint. Next, cut 2 long lengths of the yarn for each mason jar lid. I cut mine to around 20 inches long. Fold one length in half and thread it through one of the holes in the lid and knot the end several times. Do the same for the other hole. Then cut the other end of the yarn so it becomes 2 loose strings on both sides. A couple of inches up from the mason jar lid, tie another knot in your yarn on both sets of strings. Then tie the string onto the handle of the mini wooden rolling pin and finish it into a bow on both sides. If you need help holding the lid in place while you work, you can add a jar of something heavy to help weigh down your lid. I'm using the same yarn for this mini wooden spool. I wrap the yarn around it, then tie off the ends and trim off any excess yarn. Next, use one of the stickers from the roll of stickers to add a pretty floral element to the center of your wooden rolling pin. For the front side of the mason jar lid, we'll be decorating with one of our molds and fussy cut elements, but also a piece of the floral ephemera and some of the pretty paper flowers in this collection. Add some foam adhesive to the back of your fussy cut element and stick it to the inside of your mason jar lid. Then add your floral ephemera piece and the mold with hot glue. For the blue altered mason jar lid, I used foam and hot glue to attach the little mason jar molds. Then pop on your flowers and the mini spool of yarn using hot glue. For some texture, I use Finn's soft matte gel to apply art stones. Be mindful when applying these to your molds, as the gel will reactivate your watercolors. For finishing touches on the front, add a chipboard sticker and some crystals from the Home Baker collection. To cover the white back of the ephemera, hot glue some lace and a little button onto the back of the ephemera piece. And that's it for this sweet altered mason jar lid tutorial. Don't forget to like this video and to hit the subscribe button for more content like this. And until next time, happy crafting!